Hi, I'm Jeff Stokes. Welcome to Jeff's Daily Dose of Encouragement. And I want to encourage you to nip things in the bud. What do I mean by that? Well, today I'm going to use the example of King Ahasuerus and as Queen Vashti in the book of Esther, and it ends up being how Esther became queen. And there was a bit of a problem because the king had a big banquet that lasted about, well, nearly 6 months, and then he had after that for everyone he had a sort of a week's feast, and for everyone, and the Queen Vashti had a separate one for the ladies and everything. And when King Ahasuerus had a few to drink, he wanted to bring his wife over to show her off to everybody, and she refused to come, and that caused a big kerfuffle. And so he asked all his nobles and princes and things like that, his first officers or prime ministers and that, what would happen, and they all counselled him and said, look, if this gets out that she's done this to you, then all women in the kingdom will disrespect their husbands. And it says this in verse 19 and verse 20 of Esther chapter 1, and it says, if it please the king, let there go a royal commandment from him, and let it be written among the laws of the Persians and Medes, that it be not altered, that Vashti come no more before King Ahasuerus, and let the king give her royal estate unto another that is better than she. And when the king's decree which he shall make shall be published throughout all his empire, for it is great, all the wives shall give to their husbands honour, both to great and small. Now, I'm not bringing this example up to have a go at women and things like that. As I said, the title of my message is to nip things in the bud. What the king did here was he got counsel, because what would have happened was then every woman in the kingdom would have thought they could just dishonour their husband, and dishonouring the king and dishonouring husbands and things like that was just a big no-no, and that culture there in those days was a bit different to ours. I don't think it meant that men could just treat their wives however they liked, but there was supposed to be some sort of deference, and instead of just letting it run, instead of just letting the problem fester and then it becoming a major issue which you'd never be able to correct, he nipped it in the bud. And we need to do that ourselves as Christians with lots of things. Sometimes in our lives we'll allow things that potentially, if they get out of hand, will be, when they get too big, there's no pushback. I think that's happening in a lot of nations at the moment, where there's a lot of I would say sleepy Christians, and the culture around us is slowly but surely changing, and they're becoming more progressive. And as the voices of these people get loud, especially like activists, as they get louder and louder and louder and start to intimidate and start to try and control, and the authorities start to stand back and allow it, it becomes so big that they can't nip it in the bud. They can't stop it anymore because they get outnumbered, and that's happening in a lot of countries. And I know that just recently in the US, of course, there's major pushback because of the presidential elections there. But in a lot of countries, like the UK and Australia, for instance, and even here in my country, New Zealand, these if you like, anti-Western movements and anti-Christian movements and things like that are getting such a groundswell, and the governments aren't standing up. The Christians aren't really standing up in one voice and saying, no, this is the line here and you don't come over it. Instead of nipping it in the bud early, it's been allowed to run, and then it becomes it just becomes like a cancer throughout the whole society. So I hope you get where I'm coming from. I'm not having to go at woman. I'm using this example to show that it can fester. I mean, maybe Queen Vashti was the first feminist, who knows. Anyway, so that's my encouragement for you today, to nip things in the bud, even in our own homes with our children. If we let them away with too much and don't nip things in the bud, it's very hard to bring them back once things go too far. If you don't know the Lord Jesus Christ, if you confess with your mouth the Lord Jesus and believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, you will be saved. For whosoever shall confess that Jesus is the Son of God, God dwells in him and he in God. And the way that you can nip things in the bud in your own personal life is give your life to Jesus and allow him to start dealing with the things in your life that need to be straightened out before they get out of hand and you get into too much trouble that's hard to get out of. God bless you. Have a great day.